Hey Amelia, how you doing this week?
I'm good. How are you, David?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm not enjoying this pimple on the side of my face. But other than that, I'm doing well. We haven't been on for a week. Yeah, I know.
Yes, I know. I
No
know.
big deal, all right. Um, let's get into it. You have a strong topic that I think will help people. What
Yes.
the
So,
latest?
so basically, the topic that I was interested in discussing today is how to deal with someone, whether it's in your family or in your community, that may have a mental illness that is causing what some experts call compassion fatigue. And both WebMD and the Newport Institute and other sources talk about compassion fatigue and how people get burned out from helping an individual who may have some mental health problems that are taxing. So, do you have you ever experienced this, David?
Yeah, you know, with what I do, um, I get people calling me all the time, visiting, and uh, one thing I know about compassion fatigue is that it's important to put strong boundaries in. So like if whatever you're doing, if you're supporting someone, that there might be a time where the phone goes off. There could be multiple people supporting. That's usually the best thing.
That's
You,
exactly what I feel too. Like rotations. I see rotations of different people helping out at like 1 week, they switch off and on. That's a really good idea.
yeah, um, and usually having a health professional on that team is also very helpful and goes a long way too.
I think you're 100% right. And I also think education is key. It's not like we can all be doctors or anything like that, but just educating with whatever the case or whatever it is that they might be going through, educating yourself about how to cope with and how to address, that type of mental illness is key to breaking some boundaries too. It creates empathy, it creates understanding, and it creates more resilience, I think, in terms of educating yourself about that. And then also what you said about rotating, like having a support team centered around that person and just kind of having, I mean, I don't want to make it seem clinical like there's rotations like set in stone, but just having those boundaries of time is what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely, absolutely.
and what do you do for self care, David, in terms of when you're dealing with compassion fatigue? How do you recharge?
Me, prayer, self or meditation, depending upon what you believe. Um, Also, I think finding a hobby, painting, drawing, or even just zoning out with Netflix. That they're all helpful. They're all helpful ways to, I think, recharge. And there has to be recharge. There has to be a time when you recharge. And there has to be the person that you're supporting. I think needs to respect that.
They have to
And
understand. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
I've had it many times where people didn't understand, and not many times, but with one particular person, I'm thinking many times they didn't understand, and it's oftentimes it's not their fault. It's out of desperation. They don't know how to manage their emotions, and it's something that they struggle with, and I understand that, and I believe in recharging, like you said, through prayer and meditation, but also I believe in a support system for the supporter. And in other words, it like goes outward a little bit, and it's an all-encompassing thing. Like you have somebody for the person, a group of people for the person who's mentally ill, and then you have a support system for the supporters. That way nobody's really alone in that journey that they're taking and helping this person.
yeah, yeah, that's very true. And some things come to an end as well. One
Yeah.
person might say I just can't do it anymore. But it's amazing when those things happen, other people just show up, you know.
Yes.
Um, yeah, hopefully, most of the time.
I think they do show up. And I also think something that I strongly believe in is teaching. I've struggled with mental illness, but like teaching myself how to like be a therapist to myself, not leaning so harshly on other people that it's stifling, but teaching the person how to cope with their own emotions and their own thoughts. And I believe a group of people can help that individual become more self-sustaining in that self therapy, I guess you could call it self therapy, because essentially you don't want the person leaning on too much, on too much on other people. You want them to think for themselves and to guide themselves eventually and to go to God or and their hobbies and what would help them
Yeah,
ultimately long term.
I agree. And I was watching a documentary actually about on YouTube. So this father's son committed suicide. You don't always know what your teens are thinking as a teenager, and everything seemed fine. But he identified the issue, and the issue was that his family didn't know that he'd almost gone bankrupt twice. He just didn't let his family in on the tough stuff that he was doing, because when a parent brings that in and explain, and it's out in the open, it creates resilience, especially in people that with mental health. You know, it's a different capacity of thought that everyone has. And so I think starting if someone's showing signs as a young person, the last thing you want to do is to just push that to the side, but rather you want to be as real as possible so that they understand that they live in a world where even their parents, you know, struggle at times.
I Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think um you know, relaying having that transparency is important, but you also I feel like I need to trust the person, whether it's a family member or a friend. There has to be a certain trust level, right? That you can trust that person with your emotions. And so I think people have to be very careful about who they confide in. Because
Yeah,
sometimes people, although they're well intentioned, they might say the wrong things, or they might just say completely the wrong thing, and it could set off that person. But I think it's important I mean, I know I keep mentioning this, but education, self therapy, support groups, all like a whole comprehensive way of dealing with the issue at hand, for sure. And I
how
believe
much
in God, so yeah.
how much responsibility do you think for someone that struggles with a mental illness is very challenging, or even not challenging? How much responsibility do you think that they need to take in what you're talking about, education, knowledge, and taking things seriously? What would you, how would you answer that?
I think it's necessary. So, the definition of a mental illness is something that interferes with your ability to function. And that can be functioning in relationships, functioning at work, just it interrupts your functionality. So, I think I would take it very seriously to invest time in the education and resources to break that dysfunction. So I think it's really, really important. I do. And I do believe that my faith in God has helped me immensely. But even
Okay.
educating yourself with like the overlap of spirituality and medical care is important too, because they're closely intertwined. The way we think, our perspectives, our outlook on life, and then also our chemical makeup are all intertwined.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Amelia, I know that we like to keep these short and sharp and to the
Yeah.
point. Did you have anything else that you wanted to share?
I just would be advise. I would just like to say, don't give up and keep trying. It may be trial and error at first, and finding the right support group, finding the right resources, but it will work out as you persevere.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. Well, that's a very good way of putting it. So we just encourage you guys. If you want to write to us, um, you can write to me. My email is davidjohnreed2, and that's the number 2 at the end. DAIVDJOHNREID2 at gmail.com. We'll also, in the coming weeks, we'll open up um, an email for you guys to ask questions and share your experiences, and you know, um, we'll get some guests on as well. But thank you for watching, and if you're watching this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell on YouTube. And we're looking to really start ramping it up over the next couple of months. So,
Thank you for
yeah,
watching.
any last words?
No, I think that's about it. But thank you for watching, and we're always open to feedback and different ideas and different approaches. So feel free to reach out to us.
Feel the same way. All right, guys, we'll see you maybe later this week, or we'll see you next week. Take care.
Take care.